We'll begin a review of the lymphatic system structures by examining the lymphatic capillaries. These capillaries are blind-ended vessels that promote one-way flow of lymph towards the heart, very similar to what the veins do. We find that the lymphatic capillaries are present in most tissues, but they are notably absent from places like the bones, the bone marrow, as well as the teeth. As we described earlier, lymphatic capillaries are interwoven between tissue cells and blood capillaries, so that way they're in a prime position for picking up leaked fluid from those blood vessels. The lymphatic capillaries are similar in structure to both capillaries and veins. They tend to be more permeable than capillaries because they can take up large substances and large structures like proteins, pathogens, and even cancer cells. They have a high permeability due to the presence of many valves. That is, these are small valves that are present where the lymphatic capillary cells overlap with one another. So they, like the other valves we have seen so far, are opened by pressure. So in the case of the lymphatic capillaries, the pressure comes from the pressure of fluid in the tissues where the capillaries are located. We see that there are specialized lymphatic capillaries called lacteals that are located in places like the small intestines. And the lacteals are important for the absorption of lipids from the small intestine. And because they absorb lipids, their lymphatic fluid takes on a kind of milky white appearance, which is why they're referred to as lacteals. So small lymphatic vessels and lymphatic capillaries drain into what are called collecting lymphatic vessels. The collecting lymphatic vessels are very similar in structure to veins, with the exception that they have more internal valves than veins do. The collecting lymphatic vessels also have the same tunics in their walls that veins do. We see that these collecting vessels drain into the lymphatic ducts, and the lymphatic ducts return fluid back to the veins. So lymph, as we mentioned earlier, is eventually drained into two large ducts in the thoracic region, the right lymphatic duct and the thoracic duct. The right lymphatic duct drains lymph from the right upper limb, the right side of the head, as well as the right side of the thorax, whereas the thoracic duct drains really the remainder of the body and also drains the digestive system organs, or at least drains the lymph from the digestive system organs back into the venous blood supply. So recall that lymph or lymphatic fluid comes from the blood vessels, particularly in the capillary beds that push fluid by blood pressure into the tissue that is surrounding that capillary bed. So the lymphatic fluid is really the fluid that was pushed out of the arterial end of a capillary bed and has been recollected. Lymph or lymphatic fluid is moved just like blood in the veins by pressure. It only flows in a single direction, and that direction is towards the heart. Similar to the skeletal muscle pump mechanism that moves blood through the veins, we see that the skeletal muscle pump mechanism also moves blood through the lymphatic vessels. And we also have the addition of pulsatile movements of nearby arteries, which also serve to push fluid through the lymphatic vessels. And another adaptation that lymphatic vessels have in them is that we see that the lymphatic vessels have smooth muscle in their walls, which can contract and aid in the propulsion of lymphatic fluid. And once the fluid moves forward, we see that internal valves prevent backflow of this fluid, just like we see the valves in the veins preventing backflow of blood away from the heart.